How's it hanging, YouTube? Mr. Miyagi-Moto here with another Wi-Fi battle for you guys. I got some NU. I know my channel's been all NU and UU so far. I promise I'll mix that up. I'll get some RU and some OU going. Maybe even an Ubers. You never know what you might see on my channel. Actually, you kind of do. I'm kind of predictable so far. So, let's get right into this battle. I got this match on Smogon, and this is against Revenge Boys. It was a pretty good match on both sides. He leads with his naughty worded named Pokemon and puts my Golem to sleep, and that's basically all Golem will ever do is stay asleep, because that's what happens when you get asleep on the first turn. That basically just disables that Pokemon for the whole game. But if anybody on my team needed that sleep, it'd be Golem, because he can tank hits relatively well. So, I'm right here. He goes into his Relicanth. I'm not thinking of anything why he switched on that turn, didn't set up a sub. But he sets up a Rock Polish while I set up a sub, which I was totally fine with, because my prediction at this point is he's going to Waterfall or Head Smash or something to break the sub. He'll take Life Orb damage, and then I can hit him in the face with this Focus Punch, and that'll be the end of Relicanth. I mean, because that makes sense, right? So that is exactly what happens. He breaks the sub. I go for the Focus Punch right in the noggin, smacking this thing around, and he freaking lives. How do you live that? I mean, it's not stab or anything, but I'm just really disappointed by how little that did. I thought that was a clean KO because it's super effective. I was just saddened. So I go into my Superior, my Emperor, and he goes for Waterfall. I mean, exactly what was happening. Exactly what I wanted to happen, at least. And I take that like a champ. This next one, I knew he was going to go for Head Smash just because it's stronger, of course. But I forgot that it's no longer resisted. Because somewhere in the back of my mind, there's this little voice like, Steven, stay in. It's resisted. Grass resists rock. But folks, it really doesn't. Hate to break it to you. I know. I was very sad too when I figured it out. So he goes into the double down. I go into my Scarfer, my faster of the two Scarfers at least, and I play it safe and just go for the Stone Edge on this turn, which I was totally fine with. Go for the Stone Edge. It does absolutely nothing. I mean, it's not a stab or anything, and this thing's a wall of all walls. It's ever walled something in its life. So I switch out in my Genghis, and hoping that he wouldn't do anything to me, like stick me with the Toxic or something. But he goes for the Body Slam, and looking at that damage, I know I can set up a sub, and it will not break the sub if he hits it again, so which is just like perfect, yes. So he goes for a Body Slam, and here I'm just like, no Para-Hacks, no Para-Hacks, yes! But by the damage that sub damage did, that would have broke my sub, which makes it min-max, like, varying. So if he gets max on this turn, like I'm assuming he did last time, I haven't run a calc on it or anything, but if he gets max, then he will break my sub. But I mean, that's getting max twice in a row. That doesn't always happen, and that didn't happen there. So I go for the Focus Punch, just nail him in the face, and that Focus Punch doesn't kill either, but another Focus Punch will, which is forcing him to A, switch, or B, stay in, break the sub, and get killed. And he goes for the switch option. Well, I'm just going to go for another Focus Punch, because why not? So he goes into his Miss Kite, and I just Focus Punch again, because that's what I do when I'm a Genghis Khan. So I'm Focus Punch this thing in the face. It's resisted, I know. That's why it does such a pitiful amount. But, hey, I mean, it's still damage on this thing, which I'm assuming is one of his walls on his team. This and Miltank are his two walls. And Genghis Khan just wrecks through his walls, which is exactly what I need for Sock to come in and do his job, basically. So he breaks the sub here with the Scald. This next turn, I was actually kind of debating in my mind whether if I switch or whether if I set up a sub next turn, he might switch, predicting me to switch. But I was like, nah, that's kind of risky. I'm feeling good about this match at the time. Didn't want to risk that. So I just go for the return, and a good thing I didn't resist it, or didn't listen to my switching person inside of my head, and I just finish him off. Now he goes into his Scarfer, and these things are always Scarfed, and these things always give me trouble. That's why I have Sock. And right here I'm like, hey, damage is damage. Might as well go for the Sucker Punch. He goes for the Superpower, which is very good for me. Because that, I mean, yeah, it'll take me out, of course. But that means Sock can come in, and if he does choose to stay in, he knows, and I know both, that a -1 defense isn't going to live a close combat from a Sock. Because, I mean, it's a Sock after all. It still does its job. So he switches out into his Hammer Time as I just beat this thing's face in with a close combat. And right here, I was praying. I was just like, please be a rock polish set. Don't carry the Sucker Punch so I can have my Sturdy still standing. Because that would be totally awesome to have a Sturdy against Braviary. Just leave that there. No, but he has a Sucker Punch. He's all like, nope, Chuck Testa. I'm going to break your Sturdy. And I'm like, fine. I'll just finish you off. So I smack him in the face. And just, I mean, I basically just curb stomped him there. Enough said, right? So he goes back into this thing, knowing I'm locked into close combat. And he can finish me off here. But I switch out into my Roller because he needs to live. Or, I mean, he's asleep, so he might as well come in. I was really hoping he'd go for the Brave Bird, but he's smarter than that because he goes for the Superpower. And that, I mean, that doesn't take me out, of course. But I'm still asleep, so I'm rendered useless. And right here, I thought it was a really dumb move at the time, but turns out it's actually kind of smart. He switches into his naughty named Pokemon, Jynx. I'm like, that's very, very odd. I don't know why he wouldn't just finish me off. Then I realized I bring in Sock again the next turn. He's forced out because he's at minus defense. I mean, hey, that just makes sense, right? So he just finished me off with the Psychic. At this point, I still was thinking he was the Lovely Kiss Nasty Plot set. That is what I was thinking. So I go into my Iced, my Glaceon, and I Hidden Power Electric, hoping that he'd send in Braviary to take the Shadow Ball, but then again, this thing would take the Shadow Ball equally as well. So that doesn't really make sense for him to go into Braviary and risk that. But two Hidden Power Electrics can take this thing out just fine and dandy. So that's what that does. Now his two walls are gone. All he's got left is his naughty named Pokemon, which right now I figure out that he actually is Scarfed. He's got two Scarfers like me. I thought I was special running two Scarfers, but it turns out I'm not that special. Everybody does it these days. It's just a trend. So I know he had to switch. Of course, he's got to switch into this thing, and I've just got to go into my Sock. No, I don't. I go into my Caracosta just to shell smash in this thing's face and sweep, because that is what all Caracostas do. And that's why he's named I'm sorry, because I hate using this thing. And so I'm just like, why Caracosta? Why do you have to shell smash in people's faces? But I'm sorry, he just doesn't listen to me. He shell smashes anyway, even though I tell him not to. And that's the tale of Caracosta. He shell smashes all day and all night. Except right here, he actually listens to me, and I was like, you know, Caracosta, go kill yourself. And for some reason, I thought he would outspeed. But yeah, he doesn't. I could have went for the Aqua Jet, and that would have been a good game. But yeah, kind of the biggest dumb move of the game, just a little bit. But anyways, as I always say, and I realized why try to stop saying that when I always say that. So I'm like, you know what? Close combat the world at this point. That is what I'm gonna do. He brings in his Jynx. I mean, it's neutral damage, and Jynx aren't that bulky, so Jynx is dead. I'm positive of that. So Jynx goes down, and right here, he brings in, of course, he has to bring in his Braviary, his last Pokemon. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to send an Ice just in case a close combat can't kill, and he goes for like a Superpower or something instead of a Brave Bird. You never know what he's going to do. But he plays it very smart and goes for the safe return, not taking any recoil or lowering his defenses, which forces me to go for a Stone Edge, and there's always that chance of missing. So this game for me is I'm kind of thinking is resting on the fact that Stone Edge does not miss, and folks, it doesn't. Yes, that's GG. I had a very fun match and very fun time recording this. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. Please like, comment, subscribe. Check out my Fire Emblem and the Vietnamese Crystal I'm doing on JD's channel. Check that out. Hopefully that gets a big response. Peace out, YouTube.